Good evening, and welcome to Indy Admissions Live. This evening we present Transfer Admissions and Financial Aid 101. My name is Jatan Davis, and I will be your host and moderator for the session. Before I introduce my colleagues, or actually let my colleagues introduce themselves, I just wanted to thank you all for taking time out of your very, very busy schedules and joining us this evening for this session. So without further ado, I am going to turn it over to my colleagues to introduce themselves.
Thanks, Jatan. My name is Erin Camilleri. I am an Associate Director in the Office of Undergraduate Admissions, and I work with all of our transfer students, so it's a real pleasure for me to be here with you all tonight. Just want to say how happy we are that you have come to join us for the evening. We have a great tradition with transfer students here at the university. Students come to us as transfer students with all kinds of different backgrounds, with all different stories. So we like to work with them with wherever they are and find a way to make this a real possibility for them.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Mary Nucciaroni, and I serve as the Director of Student Financial Aid at the university. And I, too, appreciate you taking the time tonight to join us in this panel and opportunity for you to ask questions that you might have about both admissions and financial aid, or perhaps any other part of the university that you're curious about. And I think one of the things that I want you to take away from this, if you don't hear anything else, is I think our financial aid program for transfer students is somewhat different in that we meet a full demonstrated financial need for our transfer students, just as we do for all undergraduate students. So if one of the things that might be holding you back is wondering whether or not you could afford to attend the university, I would say make sure you stay on, ask your questions, and know that this is a real possibility. As Erin said, it's a long time tradition at the university to have transfer students with us.
So as Mary mentioned, tonight this session is really all about you. We're not going to have a lot of slides. Actually, we hardly have any slides. This is an opportunity for you to get your questions answered. So if you can go ahead and start submitting your questions, we will be sure to take those as soon as they come in. But I think one question that we received beforehand was, what are you looking for in a transfer student?
Sure. So transfer admission is a little different than first year admission. First year students are admitted into our first year of studies program. Transfer students actually apply to a particular college within the university. So we have 4 colleges and a school, and we admit students into 3 of the colleges: the College of Engineering, College of Science, College of Arts and Letters, and then the School of Architecture. So what we're looking for students in particular is to see what kind of student are they in the classroom, what kind of classes are they taking. A big piece of the transfer process is, are you taking the kinds of classes that dovetail with our curriculum here? Because students apply directly into the college, it's understood that they've completed the first year of studies curriculum. That's really foundational, especially for our engineers and our science students. So that's really, really important. We're looking to see that students are taking the right kinds of classes and doing really well in them. So that's a really important piece. So we're looking to see what kind of classes do they take. Typically, students are doing, A-minus level work, so students with a GPA of a 3.7. Those are the kind of students who are really a successful transfer student. Students come to us from all different universities across the country, internationally as well. But we're looking first and foremost really at curriculum and how well a student has done in that curriculum.
Okay. Just a little a word in terms of, to support kind of the financial aid piece of what Erin just said, is we're need blind for transfer population too. So just as we are with the undergraduate students, we do not consider need in the transfer decision process. And again, we would need financial aid for those students, financial need for those students as well. So again, I think a little bit different. International transfers or international students in general, that is the only population the university considers financial need as part of the admissions process.
And so I wanted to follow up, in terms of the admissions process for transfer students, do you also consider the essays and test scores, or is it just the curriculum?
No, it's definitely a whole, I'm glad you asked that clarifying question, because it's definitely a holistic review for sure, but we really have to start with that foundation of the curriculum. And so that is just a critical piece. It's very much a part of our culture here that students come in with a class and they graduate with that class. We want you to have the experiences with your classmates, that you all have that cohort and you move all the way through your time here at the university together. You develop your friendships there, great study partners, great experiences come from that. And so we have to start with that cohort or with that curriculum. All of that information is online. It's not secret by any means. So all of that, we work very hard to make sure that that's very public, and we want all of our students to know what that is. But then on top of that, we're also looking for students who have done well in high school. We're looking for students who have very compelling essays. Why are students interested in transferring? Transferring is not easy. It's not. And so we're really looking for students to explain what's driving this, what is their interest in transferring. And so we're looking for those compelling essays. Letters of recommendation, they're not required, but boy, we like to have them. Some of you are first-year students. You've only been at your university, for what, 6 weeks at this point, maybe tops. You might not be ready to ask for a letter of recommendation. Our deadline's not until March 15th, so I would encourage you to get to know your professors, because we do like to see them. But understand that some of you are at large public universities, and you might not have that kind of relationship just yet. We completely understand that. That's why it's just recommended, not required. But we do take a holistic approach. We look at the high school profile, the college curriculum, the college essay. What kinds of things are you involved in? Transfer students have a very long history here of being very involved. So we don't look too much at your extracurriculars of your first year, because we know you're going to just be heavily involved with our Notre Dame community here.
So you mentioned that the next deadline is actually March 15th?
For students who are applying for next fall, after one full year at your current institution, those students would apply March 15th for coming in as an incoming sophomore.
Okay.
Yes.
And what about the financial aid deadline for the students that are going to be applying for the March 15th deadline?
We're fine for those students to apply as late as April 25th, along with our returning students. A caveat to that would be, if you're from Indiana, the deadline for Indiana students to apply for financial aid is March 10th. If you apply sooner, that is great too. We would prefer that in completing the financial aid applications, that you're using actual income from the tax return. And so that's why we're okay if it's after April 15th. We know, though, that we need to get a decision turned around to you, because you need, if you're going to enroll at Notre Dame, you need to have that information so that you can let your current institution know that you wouldn't be returning.
And just to piggyback on Mary here, the timeline for applying to the transfer process is, again, March 15th, but you won't hear a decision until we receive your final grades from your second semester. And so you'll have already applied for your financial aid before you actually hear whether or not you've been admitted. So understand that we know that as well, and again, just want to encourage you to go ahead and apply for financial aid on those deadlines. even though, again, you won't receive your admission letter until we've received your final grades from your first semester.
And you won't.
I'm sorry, your first year. Excuse me. Your first year.
And you won't receive a financial aid notification until after we receive notification that you have been admitted to the university.
Right.
So we have a question that has come in from Shelby, asking how would she know if the classes that she's taking satisfies the actual curriculum required to transfer?
So typically a student can go ahead and look and see what kinds of classes are we looking for. So for example, a student who is applying to the College of Arts and Letters takes 2 math classes, 2 natural science classes, writing and rhetoric, some social sciences. If a student is going to a solid 4-year academic institution and they're taking Calculus 1 and they want to be an economics major and they're taking microeconomics, those are pretty likely to go ahead and transfer. Calculus 1 is pretty much Calculus 1 the world over. Okay. And so we will go ahead and look at that. Upon your admission, though, we will also let you know, shortly after your admission, we'll let you know exactly what classes do transfer. And some might say that they're elective, some might say that they'll actually satisfy certain pieces of your university requirements. But most critically, what you want to know is, what year are you admitted as? You're admitted as a first semester sophomore. That's our commitment to you as a student, that we will do everything we can to ensure that you graduate within 6 semesters, as long as you continue to take a full academic load and do well in all of those classes. So we've already done a little bit of the work on figuring out what kinds of classes will transfer, but that's really up to your academic advisor and your particular department of what your major would be. So that credit evaluation rests in the academy.
Okay, and I know you mentioned earlier that the website is built out with a lot of information, very specific information for the students, and so are the classes that are required for each college, is that listed on the website as well?
It is.
Okay.
It is listed. It's generic in that it says Calculus 1 for life sciences. That would be our equivalent of saying Calculus 1 for someone who's interested in pre-medicine. So understanding that we're not going to list, the actual course number, because that obviously wouldn't be the same at your own institution. But as long as you're taking the equivalent of life sciences, Calculus 1, what does your school require your pre-med majors to take in Calculus 1 and Calculus 2? You can be pretty comfortable that will go ahead and suffice for us as well.
And so what about, we have a question from Mimi here about AP credits.
Mimi, I'm glad you asked that question. You're very smart. So yes, we definitely do take AP credit for sure. That is also online. We take typically 5s. So what is really, really important here is what your current institution, what they take for AP credit, that might not be the same for what we take. And so just because your school would grant you a Calculus 1 for, or if you got a 4 on your Calc AB, that wouldn't necessarily fulfill our requirements. So making sure you understand that, and then planning accordingly for next semester as well. A lot of students will also consider taking summer courses. It's a great thing to be thinking about if you're not able to get everything in, is to go ahead and plan summer coursework. Strongly encourage students to do that as well.
And so this is an interesting question from Seja. I hope I didn't butcher your name, but she would be an international transfer applicant. I've never even considered that, but she's wondering, what are the admissions criteria for international transfer applicants? How much does the SAT score play a part in the admissions for those types of students?
Sure. So an international transfer student would have the same evaluation that an international first-year student would have as well. So, for example, we would ask that you submit a TOEFL score. That's a really important piece there. Students who take an SAT, if they score above, I believe, a 600 for their critical reading piece, if they don't have a TOEFL score, that would be fine. A lot of students will also say, I'm an international student, I'm currently enrolled at an international university, and I wasn't required to take the SAT or the ACT. What do I do? And if that's the case, then you can't go back to high school and take the SAT or the ACT. So just go ahead and let us know that in your Common App, and we'll do our best to evaluate everything else. We'll look very carefully at your current curriculum and then your high school transcript as well. So make sure you go ahead and take the TOEFL score. We like to see above a 100. That's definitely the watermark that we're looking for there.
And I would just say for financial aid, again, for international students, we do consider the ability to pay. So you would need to be completing the certification of finances, submitting the required documentation. We do not have financial aid for transfer students who are international transfer students. So that would be part of, and an important part of, the admissions application process for international students.
Right, so we would be, again, requesting a certification of finances, and then supporting bank statements as well. So those would be really important for us to go ahead and receive them.
Okay, and so I have another question. In addition to AP credits, what about IB credit?
Absolutely. So IB is a great program. We love to see students in international baccalaureate programs, AP classes in high school as well. So those would be typically, again, 6s and 7s, and they're typically higher level as well. One key thing, can I just interject?
Absolutely.
It's just also important to be aware, any kind of AP or IB credit that we would offer, the sciences are typically the ones that we want to teach. We want to see that you've taken college level coursework. So our biology students, we want to see that you've taken, intro to Bio 1 and Bio 2, Chemistry 1, Chemistry 2. We want to see that you've had those college courses, that you'll be able to kind of hit the ground running for sure. So just to be aware of that, go ahead and take that AP credit for calc and run.
So we have a question about the average GPA for transfer students, and I think we mentioned the 3.7 is the average GPA, and we have Joyce who wants to know if this includes a College of Engineering for Aerospace.
Sure, that's a great question, Joyce. We take this all into consideration. What is the rigor of your coursework? What is your major? Engineering is renowned for being a very challenging program. Ours is challenging for sure. So we're just going to go ahead and take that into consideration. So I wouldn't necessarily say that that's a hard and fast GPA that you must have in order to be competitive. I just share that that's typically our average GPA where students are successful in the admission process, but understanding for sure that our engineering students might have a little bit of a lower GPA. But again, no course lower than a B, not a B minus, a B will actually transfer for our students in their major requirements. So the College of Science and the College of Engineering, both, they have so many of their major requirements within that first year that those students need to definitely have Bs or better.
Okay, thank you. So it looks like we have a mixed group on the session. We have some students that have already applied for the January semester. The semester actually starts in January. And so we have one student who wished he had applied and wants to know if it's too late to get his application in.
Sure. So this is there are two different ways. The vast majority of our students come in the fall as first semester sophomores. So that is definitely the kind of default. So I appreciate that you're asking for clarification on that. Sometimes students will apply to Notre Dame as a transfer student in the spring term of their sophomore year. We do admit a very small number of second semester sophomores. So this would not apply to a student who is in their first year at an institution, but students who've completed 45 credit hours at a minimum would be welcome to apply as a second semester sophomore. And so the timing there is very tricky. I think I would typically want to deal with people working very, very late at the end of second semester or at the end of first year during that Christmas break time. But it's an exciting time because we're receiving students' final grades. And again, it's a really tight turnaround. So if that's you, if you are applying as a second semester sophomore for the spring, make sure you send us, and we'll tell you how to do this all, make sure you send us your final grades, the electronic grade report. Go ahead and send those to us as soon as you have them. And then we will make our decisions very quick. Because we've already reviewed your application and have a good idea based on your first 2 semesters of where you fall, and we'll be looking forward to those grades. So as soon as we have them, we'll go ahead, and that is typically all done through email. You will be getting an official letter. You will, but we like to make those phone calls. We like to make that communication as best we can, and know that even though we're on Christmas break, we still do a lot of conversing with you all over Christmas break as well, because we realize it's an important decision.
And I just want to add the financial aid piece, because again, if people don't know, if you're going to try to apply for that January transfer, I would strongly encourage you to complete, we have 2 financial aid applications. Both the free application for federal student aid, the FAFSA, which many of you may have already completed. What you would do there is to add the Notre Dame school code, which is 001840 on our website, in case you don't have a pen handy. And then we also require the CSS financial aid profile, which is available on profile on collegeboard.org. And you can get to those websites through our website. If you did a profile for another school, you simply add Notre Dame, and we are 1841 for the CSS profile. If you haven't done one, you need to do that now, because they will actually shut down the financial aid application, the profile application for the 14-15 academic year. So again, this would be students thinking of January 15. You would complete the 2014-15 CSS profile and get your supporting documents into our office, because that's even a shorter turnaround time, as Erin was saying. We have to have that information. Erin would make that decision, and her team, and then we would be preparing a financial aid notification, because again, we realize you're trying to do this over Christmas break, and you have a very short window of time that you can make all of these decisions, get your finances in order to make that transfer possible. So that would be a do it now.
Sure. Thank you for that. So we have a question. You mentioned that students typically apply in their freshman year to start first semester sophomore year, or a few students can start second semester sophomore year. Do we ever have any students that start to follow their junior year?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So transfer students, this is one of the reasons I love working with transfer students, is each and every one of you have your own unique path as to how you come to us. Some students apply to us as a first-year student, and maybe they were waitlisted and we weren't able to pull them in. Maybe they were very competitive, but we still weren't able to offer them admission straight out of high school. Maybe they were admitted and they chose to go to a different school. So we have students who are kind of coming to us from all different stories. They also have different timelines in which they come to us. So again, the vast majority of students come as first semester sophomores, but every year we do have a group of students who come in as second or as first semester juniors, and they're just as welcome. They bring just as much vitality and talent, everything else to the transfer population. So just because you're going to be a first semester junior, I would say definitely go ahead and apply. The types of classes that a student in that situation might be thinking about is completing that first year curriculum for sure, but then also following up with the different types of classes that would be in your major. There's more information about that on our website, but if you have very, very particular questions about your curriculum, I would be happy to have that conversation with you for sure.
Great. So we have this question from a couple of students or attendees. Nicholas is one of them, who asked the question about students that have the GI Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anyone, the earlier question was, is there anyone in financial aid that specifically works with these students? And then Nicholas's part of the question is, are there different types of scholarships or financial aid opportunities available for active duty service members who may not qualify for the need-based aid?
These are great questions, and it's funny that you ask, because actually that team and I were talking today about the proud tradition that the university has in enrolling children of the military or active duty service members themselves. So yes, we do have financial aid for veterans or active military. And actually, a young man last year came in, or 2 years ago, came in active military, and he was able to connect with the ROTC branch that he was serving to continue his active duty. In terms of specific person, yes, we do. And I'm going to give you two different names. One is Jessica Schiller. So Jessica is the only Jessica in our office. And then we also have Christine Butz, B-U-T-Z, and she's the only Christine. Both of them work very, very closely with students who are veterans and can talk with you if you have eligibility for yellow ribbon or whatever chapter VA benefits you have. Those are the key contact points for you.
Great, thank you, Mary.
Mm-hmm.
So we have another question from John, which I'm not surprised that we got this question.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, do you accept transfer students into your business school?
Yes, that is always a very popular question, and unfortunately, John, we don't admit students into our we don't admit transfer students for this year into Mendoza. Mm-hmm. So students who think that they'd like to come to Notre Dame and potentially add on a minor or even a major. There's economics is a major within the College of Arts and Letters. It is our largest major in Arts and Letters. It's just an incredible program. But there are also minors within the College of Arts and Letters that students will often add on. We have an amazing career center here, just phenomenal. That they like to see transfer students within their first year of being here, so that they can go ahead and help prepare them, help them figure out how they can develop a really robust undergraduate experience, as well as being really well prepared to enter the workforce. So, yeah, but that's a great question.
Thank you. And so Sean asked, if he was not accepted to Notre Dame coming out of high school, will that negatively impact him? How will that hinder his chances of being accepted the second time around?
Sure, Sean, that's another really good question. So the answer is no. The answer is no. Every year we have students who are just incredible students who we weren't able to offer admission. And transferring in is a great opportunity. Maybe one piece of their first year application wasn't as strong, and so they spend that first year at another institution and strengthen whatever that area might be. Or sometimes a student is a late bloomer, and we realize that. We have an appreciation for that, for sure. So no, and I genuinely mean that. No. And same thing as the other one I had recently was I was admitted and I went somewhere else.
Oh, wow.
It's not coming negatively in there, and the answer to that is no, obviously. No, so there are lots of reasons why students come to us through the transfer process, and again, we're just looking to bring in a group of students who are going to make Notre Dame a better place because you're here, and our transfer group always does just that.
So we have a question from Kuma asking, is there a limit on transfer credit hours that you will accept?
Sure. So typically we bring in about 30 credit hours. That's 15 credit hours each semester, maybe 18 credit hours because you're a science or an engineering major and you have labs. So the answer is no. What we would say is that the number of AP credit hours you bring in, the IB credit hours that you might come in, all of that will be evaluated, and then we'll tell you what we're admitting you as. So we would say, you're a second semester sophomore because you have 45 credit hours, or you're a first semester sophomore as well. Typically, students are looking to take advantage of all their time here at the university, and so if they have more room in their course schedule, they'll add on additional majors, add on a minor, they'll go abroad. A lot of our transfer students, we want our transfer students to be able to go abroad. So we want our transfer students taking advantage of everything that we have to offer. So it's important that not only you are aware of how much credit you can bring in with you, but also know what some of that opens up for you while you're here as well. Sorry.
So there's a little caveat piece that I would say to that would be important to know from a financial aid perspective, is that we allow a maximum of 8 semesters of aid for the normal student. So when we think about a transfer student, so if Erin was saying you're admitted as a first semester sophomore, you then have 6 semesters of eligibility in terms of financial aid. If you're admitted as a first semester junior, you have 4 semesters of eligibility. So just that little bit of caution, yes, we want you to participate in everything, but we also won't give you 8 semesters of aid. The class that you're admitted into determines how many semesters of aid eligibility that we would allow in terms of university-funded gift aid.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I was just going to mention that I have a transfer student, a junior transfer student, working on my intern team, and over fall break she's going to Ireland. And so, yeah, she may be blogging about that. So be sure to check out our admissions blog, and I'll tell you how to get to that at the end of the session. But yeah,
and just a little plug for study abroad in terms of so many students. And I think, Erin, you said earlier how much we really want our students to have that experience. For students who choose to go on study abroad during the academic year, and some of our programs are a full year, some of them are a single semester. Sometimes I'm not sure what happens in the fall here, but they like to go in the spring. I'm joking with all of you, right? Because the football season sometimes determines when students want to go abroad.
Oh, it's not the weather?
No, not the weather. So at any rate, the good news is for Notre Dame programs, we charge relatively the same cost. and we allow your financial aid to travel with you. Our goal is to try and make that study abroad experience available to students who really have the desire to go. So the summer study abroad programs are a bit different. We're not able to fund really summer study abroad, but we still have a large cohort of students who do summer study abroad. And it might even be through summer study abroad in a service way. So that's some really unique ways, I think, that many of our students are taking advantage of going abroad. They do a service learning project, maybe in Africa or Haiti or whatever. So, and those are paid for through the Center for Social Concerns,
right,
or through research grants. So there's some really creative ways to do study abroad in summer that might even supplement what you might do during an academic year.
That's right, Mary. It's the International Summer Service Learning Program.
Yes.
And I know that because another one of my interns is a transfer student who's a senior, and he was in Brazil the past 2 summers. And so he actually has a blog post that's up now about that program. So.
Which is a wonderful, a great work opportunity, plus a great way to get that study abroad opportunity.
So we have, let's see, we are coming close on time, but we have a lot more questions actually that we're not going to be able to get to, but we're going to answer Jonathan's question. He says he took the SAT when he was in high school, wasn't really, happy with his score, and he's going to take the SAT again as a transfer student. Will his high school score hinder him?
Sure. So, Jonathan, I wouldn't necessarily encourage you to take the SAT again while you're already enrolled at a four-year institution. Your SAT score will be looked at and considered for sure. But most importantly, we're really looking at how are you doing as a college student? How are you doing in the courses that you're enrolled in? Because, the SAT, a piece of your application for sure, but I can't emphasize enough how much we're looking for excellent grades for when you're in college, because that's the best indicator for how well you'll do here. Is, again, if you do really well in your courses in college, I would just encourage you to spend your time focusing on your coursework in college versus studying for another SAT.
Thank you. And I see a question, Romaine. Yes, this Q&A session is being recorded and will be made available within 48 hours. And so it will definitely be promoted on our social media accounts and made available on our website. So yes, it is being recorded.
I think we have a Q&A as well on the admissions site that where if we don't get to your question as well, and I believe there's some on the financial aid website as well. So I think those are good supplements to what you're going to have here.
Darby has a question about if his current university does not offer the major that he intends to have at Notre Dame, how does that factor in his admissions decision?
Not at all, Darby. A lot of students will consider transferring to Notre Dame because they can't study what they want to study at their current institution. We absolutely understand that, for sure. So don't worry about that at all. Just help us understand as to why you're interested in that curriculum. Why are you interested in studying something that you haven't had a chance to study at your current institution? So we'd be curious to learn more from you.
Okay. We have a question from Thomas about the number of students that we typically accept. So for fall and then spring semester, how many?
Sure. The admit rate actually for transfer students is very similar for our first year process. And the number of transfer students who come in the fall is much larger. We typically have between maybe 140, 150, somewhere in that range. And in the spring, it's just tiny. It's a very, very small group, and those students are typically between 10 to 20 students. So it's a much smaller field. did see a different question up there that I just want to make sure I address. It was for the student who asked about the dual degree program. And the dual degree program is an excellent opportunity for students who are interested in the engineering dual degree. They spend 3 years at one institution and then come here for another 2 and earn an engineering degree. Those programs, we work very closely with our College of Engineering here, and you have a program coordinator at your own institution. Make sure you connect with him or her, and they will guide you through the admission process. So just know that we have a well-run path for those 3-2 programs, and your first point of connection is through your contact at your institution.
And those have to be agreements are in place already for those, right, Erin?
Yep. It is, you take a certain curriculum, you earn a certain GPA, and we admit them.
Thank you for that. So I have a question here. I'm not sure if it's too specific, but Dana wants to know, do you prefer letters of recommendations from professors of your intended major of study or any classes? Okay.
Yeah, Daniel, that's a great question. I would say go ahead and send anyone who you've connected with. So any professor you've experienced who you think can write well about who you are in the classroom, who you are outside the classroom, however you happen to know that professor. Sure, that sounds great.
And then Tyra asked about the dual program at the College of Engineering and Arts Letters that you mentioned. Is there any information on the website regarding the specific requirements?
So there's a couple of different names there for several different programs. So let me just clarify. A 3-2 program is the understanding of you spend 3 years at one institution and then spend 2 years at Notre Dame. You earn a Bachelor's of Science from your first institution as well as a Bachelor of Engineering at Notre Dame. So in 5 years you can earn 2 different bachelor degrees. We also have, so that's one program. Then for students who come to Notre Dame, we also have a dual degree program within the College of Engineering and the College of Arts and Letters. And that's for students who want to earn both a Bachelor's of Engineering from Notre Dame and a Bachelor's of Arts from the University of Notre Dame as well. And so that's a 5-year program. So we have a lot of different programs for students, and those are all online for sure, but lots of different opportunities for students to have lots of different interests as well. We understand that not everyone knows exactly what they want to go study, or maybe they do know and they have just a very wide range of interests for sure.
Yeah. And I have a lot of questions coming in about, okay, I have, this many credits already, will I be able to come in as a sophomore? And I think, from what I heard you say, it really depends on the transcript, right? There's really no one answer.
And that's, you nailed it. So transfer is different in that every single student has a unique story and they have a unique application. So know that when we admit students, we're going to admit them as, we're going to let them know exactly how we're admitting them, and that's our commitment to you. And then you'll find out what kinds of classes do transfer back and forth from your particular college.
Okay. And I think we only have 2 more minutes left, and I see a couple of questions that keep cycling in, something that we touched on earlier. For the international transfer students, they're asking about financial aid again, and
so financial aid, we are need aware. Right. So the ability to pay for Notre Dame is considered for international transfer students. So that is part of the admission decision process. Of course, there's always one exception. So when the 3-2 program came up, I thought of this because for those institutions whom we have agreements with for the cooperative engineering program, if you are a transfer student in one of those programs, we are not need blind because it's an agreement in advance. But all other transfer students, we do not have funding for transfer students in the form of scholarship for them.
thank you for clearing that up. We just had a lot of those questions come in, so I wanted to make sure that we answered that for the late joiners. But rest assured, again, this session is being recorded and will be made available within 48 hours, so you will be able to listen to the playback. And as Mary mentioned, we have a very detailed FAQ, frequently asked questions list on our website, as well as on the financial aid website. And there are definite ways to communicate with us that I'll get to in just a second, but I just wanted to ask if there were any last comments that you wanted to share or to make before we signed off.
No, I would just say again, thank you for being with us tonight. I would encourage you all to go ahead and submit an application. We would love to receive that. But enjoy this first year wherever you are. Enjoy your classes, explore a lot of different opportunities, get involved with the things that you want to be involved in simply because it's interesting to you. And know that we're hoping that you have a great first year, and we're looking forward to the prospect of welcoming you to Notre Dame.
I would say the same as well, Erin, and certainly if you have questions that aren't covered in this session or that might be online, that we would welcome that for you if Notre Dame is something really seriously that's on your mind. But again, keep yourself focused in terms of where you are right now, and we'll be here to answer questions.
Absolutely. And so, as you can see on the slide that I'm sharing on the screen right now, has a lot of ways in which you can get in contact with us. You can send an email to transfer@nd.edu, or you can, again, visit the admissions website, find the transfer section on the website. There's a lot of questions, frequently answered questions listed there, as well as the financial aid website as well. And we are on social media, so you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram. You can get in contact with us there. What's unique about the Tumblr page is that it's our Students Corner. The student interns that I mentioned a little bit earlier in the session, they run that page. Today's actually Question Tuesday, so if you have any questions on student life, not admissions, but student life, they will definitely answer your questions. And again, we have 2 transfer students as new media interns, so definitely be sure to pick their brains on the process and on their experience here as well.
And just to tie on to that, we actually have students who are answering the transfer at nd.edu. Those are Notre Dame transfer students, so they know exactly where you are, they know the path, and if there's anything that they can't answer, then they'll forward that on to me directly, and I'll be sure to follow up with them as well.
Great. See, many ways to get your questions answered. So without further ado, we're going to sign off from South Bend. Have a great evening.